Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. So this is Viker's podcast, and right now we have Wish.eth. So he is a board ape himself, and he's very active in the Indian ecosystem of startups and the Web3 space. And we're doxed. And what else do I have to say, man? When I said board ape, so welcome to the club, everybody, and let's go ahead with a small introduction. Wish. Go ahead. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your journey. Really excited to know.
Hey Harshit, so my journey was in a very weird state or a very weird situation. Of sorts when I started. Right in 2016, I was actually preparing for my civil services, where that's where I'm right now, visiting my couple of friends who are just like finished their common courses and now going on to the specializations in the civil services.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started there, the first time I read about Bitcoin, I thought it was a Ponzi and a scam. I said, "Shit, man, this is weird. Like, I'm not getting into this shit." But the
Correct.
technology was something which actually drew me in because, like, at that point of time, I had changed my optional to philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So, in philosophy, what you basically understand is the reason for existence of a certain thing,
Okay.
and you also believe that um, when a certain element when a certain technology exists over a long period of time, there has to be something which is actually robust, right? It's not breaking apart as a whole. Even though when we had seen Bitcoin crashes multiple times and a bear market, it still existed. So
Correct.
many people believed in it.
Correct.
So in 2016, when I first saw Bitcoin, I think it was around $1,200. And I was like, shit, man, this is a Ponzi as a whole.
Wow.
But
Wow.
later on, when I started digging in a little deeper, I started understanding what the technology basically wanted to do. It basically wanted to put two people on an equal basis with an underlying layer of trust so that me and you can interact without um, any thought or any doubts of it being ill-intentioned, right?
Correct.
If I'm sending you a Bitcoin and you get a Bitcoin, you know you got Bitcoin, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
this is what like interested me as a whole. On
Mm-hmm.
the second aspect of things, I was also looking at Ethereum. Ethereum at that point of time, like, was not something which I got, but like then going forward, I think 2017 is when I started investing heavily in crypto as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But 2017-18, as everyone know, the bear market happened,
Correct.
and
Correct.
that was like the first time my portfolio crashed to, like, I was down about 80 to 89%, 90% down. And I just lost faith at that point of time for a short bit, because you lose money, you basically say that I lost something, I probably am not good at it. But the technology still persisted in my head, and digging a little deeper, I realized that the technology is not the problem, but rather our understanding of, or our way of looking at the market was the problem.
Correct. Correct.
Fast forward about 2019, 20, read about technologies, was running an arbitrage bot as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was certain parts where which was doing, there were certain projects which had come out on a much more nascent basis, was
Mm-hmm.
testing them out as well.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
2020 was during the COVID crash is when I actually got in full force, where Bitcoin had crashed to $5,000, and I knew for a matter of fact that Bitcoin was just not worth $5,000. And that is where I can say that I actively started um, professing in crypto as a whole, and like
Okay.
getting into
Okay.
crypto as a whole, because I just finished like about 6 attempts of my civil services and hadn't like gotten into any of the services of sorts. So
Mm-hmm.
2020 November, December, January is when 2021 January is when I got in.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point of time, NFTs, DeFi, everything was taking off.
Correct.
I was using DeFi protocols to understand that exchange of value without a centralized entity can, how important it is, right? Like, let's say that I need to make a transaction or I need to exchange something. I basically had to wait for, like, let's say a middleman to come in so that they accept my transactions, or there is like a working schedule of sorts.
True.
But
True.
when you
Correct.
have protocols,
Yes. Yes.
when you have protocols on a much more larger basis, it's 24/7. You
Mm-hmm.
can trust them because the code is readable, and you malign actors are on a minimum basis if you know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So this was something which was started gaining traction of sorts, and luckily in 2017-18, I was speaking to people from the space, from multiple projects, and their understanding was basically, I was absorbing like a sponge basically at that point of time when uh, they were explaining protocols, explaining the underlying philosophy of it.
Okay, okay.
Then 2021 January, February was when I started uh, like actively buying NFTs. Like I had like a couple of NFTs before, but I had like sold them off. Like you didn't have release before. In like CryptoPunk started in 2017, but like there was no traction until Jan 2021. And that is when I realized crypto NFTs as a whole, as a technology, can actually change the way humans interact with respect to each other, right from big corporations to users to people, even as a membership card, right? Like if you see Bored Ape Yacht Club is just a membership card which is worth $250,000 today, but it's much more than that, right? It brings a community as a whole, and it's also about the people who are inside the project, who are basically working to push the project as such. So forward to May 1st, 2021, I looked at Bored Apes and I was like, man, this looks really good. Let's mint them, and just minted and
Say that
held on
again.
to
What
them.
was the date again?
And
Which date again?
May 1st, 2021.
May 1st, 20. Okay, May 1st, 2021.
It's on the blockchain. So like you can go to my
Of
OpenSea
course.
and
Yeah,
like you can
yeah,
see
yeah,
the transaction as
yeah,
such.
yeah.
So minted all of my apes. You would be surprised to know Bored Apes actually were released on April 25th.
Okay.
And and for 7 days, no one literally bought a Bored Ape. Like
Okay.
in the sense, there was about under 3,000 Bored Apes was sold in 7 days. And
Wow.
on May 1st, for about 10 hours, I think I was able to see each transaction processing. So if you see my Bored Apes, it is done in 3 separate transactions, and they have 3 separate numbers. So the numbers I've minted is 2999, 4859, and 9633. So I had I had so much time, like about 8 hours time to sit and watch those transactions go through.
Oh,
And
okay.
like including fees, I think I have paid 0.25 as a whole.
For that one, can you show
Yeah,
that again, please, for our audience? Such this
yeah.
one.
So uh, with with respect
Did
to,
you flash your
sorry, I
Bored
couldn't get that.
Did you flash your Bored Ape just now? Because it just flashed. Maybe you turn off your camera or something.
Yeah, if I turn off my,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think this is the one.
That's the one. With like
So
Sino Gopal
yeah,
in
this
that.
is actually my yeah, because like what you can do with your Bored Ape is you can also change that. So now this is like my work profile. Like even if
Wow.
I'm interacting from anyone on the Web3 space, it's more of me wearing my own hoodie. Like I'm wearing my
Correct.
our own hoodie right now, right?
Correct.
So it's just me wearing our own hoodie and representing Sino as sorts.
I think
So
I think what's happening in the space is so magical. You see that you don't see, like Kunal keeps saying, right? Our country is a very trustless country, right? For everything, there is so much lack of trust. Transactions are very difficult, and that's where he saw the opportunity of creating cred of like the affluence, where there are high trustworthy individuals, and giving them a model, right? Giving them a fundamental model where they can do things.
mhm,
But now what you're saying is,
mhm,
let's
mhm.
change the entire space. Let's remove trust from the system and let's make it peer to peer. How magical is
Yeah,
that, man?
because I think there what is happening is that when trust becomes default, right, it becomes trustless, right? When I can trust you no matter what, like
Mm,
if the blockchain says that you have transferred me a certain amount of value and it is reflective on the blockchain and it's reflective on my wallet and I can basically use it for something else, it changes something in human beings. It changes to a fact that it becomes default, where like let's say I'll give you a simple example of
okay.
how trust as a whole was formed. Like
Okay.
there was a point of time in I think March last year where I there was a friend of mine who basically wanted a certain amount of tokens converted into ETH, right?
Okay.
And he didn't have that exchange username as a whole. So
Mhm.
he contacted another guy who he met on a Web3 Telegram group and basically asked him, bro, can you do this for me? You have an exchange account there. You wouldn't believe that the transaction was for about, I'll give you a rough figure. It was in the 5 figures,
Mhm.
and it was in dollars. And that guy basically did it, converted it, and gave it back in under 10 minutes,
Mhm.
right? So this just shows that when you have default as trust, and these two people did not know each other,
Mhm.
right? Default trust becomes native to us, where we basically want to trust each other, but the systems till now we were not able to. Right
Correct,
now, you can
correct, correct,
basically
correct, correct,
trust them
correct.
on a very de facto basis
Yes.
by deriving your source of
Mhm.
truth from the blockchain, which
Yes.
is a state at a
So
whole.
basically
So
trusting the
yeah,
code, you're
this space
saying.
is revolutionary.
Trusting the code and
Yes,
not the
yes,
beings, not human beings here.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and I
yes.
think
But
I
I
also
think,
interrupted
when we
you.
trust the,
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I think when we trust the code as such, I think we are also trusting human beings, because human beings write that code, and that is where something switches in our brain when we're basically having a relationship or like talking with respect to people from the space. There is default trust. Like, I think it's the underlying thing which is expected from everyone,
Mhm.
and I think that's a very good thing which is happening in the space and the world as such.
Mhm. And if I had to digress and come back to your point, I think I interrupted you when you
Mhm.
were telling me the price of your board ape, which I do not, I want to listen to that again.
So basically, I paid, I think, approximately 0.25 ETH for my three board apes. Okay, the approximate valuation for my apes right now should be anywhere north of 700 ETH. So that was like an amazing multiplier.
Wow. And
Like, a lot of people have asked me this, that, why haven't you sold, or
exactly, that's going to be my
why
next
didn't you
question.
cash?
Yes, that was going to be
Yeah,
my.
for me it was more about, like, at that point of time, um you had a I had a conviction with respect to board apes, because
Okay, okay.
the way the community was being formed, it was more community centric, it was more people centric, and everything to a large extent was done by people coming out and talking about their own apes. Like, for example, James Westfall was one of the people back then, and he's still there in the board apes club right now. And what he did was, he created the first clubhouse for board apes themselves. And one of the most important conditions there was, if you had to be a member, you had to support your board ape as a PFP. The same way, there were people like Pablo Stanley, who was there,
Mhm.
who used to make gifts for us, basically
Mhm.
with respect to board ape gifts, which you see right now. That was made by them. And
Wow,
there
wow.
were people who are artists who are coming about and making derivatives of board apes.
Mhm.
So it initially became a vehicle for artists to use this IP of sorts. And
Mhm.
that was the selling point for me, that this was the first collection which actually gave you intellectual property rights
Mhm.
with respect to the image you basically hold.
And digital
And
scarcity.
yes, and digital scarcity, because there was only 10,000 pieces of sorts. So I always, after I minted, I think about a month later, I decided that I don't want to sell my apes at a point of time. Because
Mhm.
then I think we had our dogs as well. And I think board apes had pumped to, I think, about 10 ETH floor, and it was dropping. And there was a lot of people who asked me, like, why don't you sell it? There were two, three things from my own personal perspective that I didn't want to sell it. Was that first thing, it shows vision with respect to a particular person, that he was able to see a particular genre take off. He was
Mhm.
able to pick good products. He
Mhm.
was able to, it also shows that you basically understand the space in a much more non-verbal way,
And
rather than
earlier
you
than the
telling
people
people
who
who you
did,
are.
right? And also
Yeah,
earlier than people
yeah,
who did.
yeah. So, but like, it helps you speak about yourself in a much more non-verbal way. And
Mhm.
I also saw that during COVID, what had happened was, people wanted to come together as a community, because you think about it, right? Like, you're stuck at home for about a
Like
year,
there's this
and
pent up
you don't
demand
have.
of connecting with people,
Yeah,
because like in the end we're all homo
exactly,
sapiens, right? We're all social animals. We have to talk
exactly.
to
We're
each other.
social
We want to
animals.
talk. And that was not
Yeah,
happening. And I see, and that's why Clubhouse also kicked off. And what you're saying, I'm just able to connect the
yeah.
dots right now. Yes, 100%.
So, though, then what happened was that when they dropped dogs, we basically saw that the project and the founders had the community in mind, and it was like reinforcement of one's beliefs that the project is going to do good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we started seeing a lot of influx of new people I think I was one of the initial people who was talking about board apes being like being used as like a representation for like Web2 brands as such. So if you had seen board apes, there is this one trait called board pizza.
Okay. Okay.
So I was basically telling them that, you know, you can speak to Domino's or Pizza Hut and probably they can use it as an IP and and their entry to the Web3 world. And I have a board ape called 9633, which is basically diamond grills. That is, the teeth is diamond.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I started reaching out to Colgate. I started reaching out to toothpaste brands as such because think about it, right? Colgate is linked to strong teeth. I don't think anything is stronger than a diamond.
Correct.
So
Wow.
that was a connection which I made for
Mm-hmm.
me with respect to my IP. But then Colgate basically responded saying that I can share that tweet with you, but like, you know, they basically responded saying that, you know, we only work with people who are basically work for oral hygiene and sorts. But we are a very new community. We had just started about a month ago and uh, just didn't go forward as such. But what that basically made the community realize what they had. They had a logo, they had an IP, they had something which they could monetize. And that is where I think, you know, a lot of people came together as a community and started professing about board apes. And that's where we all stuck together. Like, you know, you literally piss off one ape, you literally piss off the entire community of sorts because
True,
it's
true, true.
very tribal of sorts. We don't like it. Like we don't want to piss off anyone. We don't like to be pissed off. We enjoy the space as much as anyone. There is like humorous banter every time which is happening.
And the meme
But
game, man.
we
The meme
do, and
games. What do I say?
yeah, like, you know, people took it on a next level, right? Like
True,
people
true, true.
basically made sure that me bits and like board apes were clashing with respect to his images. So that is where it sort of came off to me that this community can go in for a longer period of time, and that is where my conviction was. I didn't want to sell because I realized that uh, it was also something, a revelation or like something which struck my mind that
Mhm.
I really understand the space. It was a vote of confidence in myself for me.
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
I haven't sold it because I believe that with my own understanding of the space, with my own belief in the space, and with my own effort in the space, I can do much more than just selling a board ape and just cashing out. Having my board apes will give me access to a lot of different things which people generally don't have access to.
Correct,
Uh,
correct, correct.
right now, I can speak to any other board ape who's there in any part of the world, and basically we can sit and talk about shit or life or anything,
I
and
wouldn't
we'd
say
still
just the
be
board
happy.
apes. Like you can reach out to anybody in the entire Web3 community and they will listen. Right?
Yeah,
They will listen to your
surprisingly
art.
that is what happened. Yeah. So
Because it's
that's
also like
something
a
which evolved. Yeah, it's a very non-verbal way of communicating who you
correct.
are,
It's like the
and
elite
it's
part
brilliant.
of the Web3 space,
Yeah.
like that elite club
Mhm.
of the Web3 space, who's doing something, who believed it, long before anybody else did. And and it's also like validation, right? It's also a proof of status that you are part of
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
You have been a part
Mhm.
of something and you're doing something,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
say, because your background is also in philosophy, I say
Mhm.
you also understand the biases of human beings and how human brain
Yes. Yes.
works. So
Mhm.
social validation, right? We seek validation in every single form.
Yes.
Like they have,
Yes.
there
Yes,
was
we do.
different economies, right?
Mhm.
The entire evolution of species, we
Mhm.
do seek validation, and that's how it's been
Yes, we
for a
do.
long time.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
could you also relate a little bit of philosophy with this one? Because that's what I want to know, because you have background in it. And I want, because you think differently, right? You think differently.
Mhm.
Because this conversation, I mean, I'd say if this is just an excuse for podcast, it's just an excuse for me having a conversation with the board ape. But I want to think like you. So आपने बोला like teeth, like Colgate is synonymous to strong teeth, diamond is synonymous to strong things, right? So how
Strength.
do you
Yeah.
think that way? How do you tap into opportunities that way? Because I'd say even doing that, even you doing that in 2016, 2017, it all came from a lot of research. And you also said that, right? You had like 4 to 5 hours of time to just look at what is happening. You were observant of what the market
Mhm.
is doing, and then
Yeah.
you made a move instead of just jumping in.
Mhm.
So please tell me about
Mhm.
how you think, and combining philosophy with this, and yeah.
See, for me, one thing with respect to PFPs which struck me in my head was that we all hold on to identities, right? Like you're just me and you having a conversation. This
Correct.
simple image has so many um, like identity biases involved. Like for example, rather than biases, I say identity involved, right? Like one thing you can say is that we both are Indian, we both speak English, we both speak two, three different languages, we both know how we each other look. Um, Also, you can like pinpoint so many different data points on me,
Correct.
and you can have your own inherent biases based on that.
Correct.
But when you look at a PFP picture of an ape, what is your bias? Nothing. It's an
Mm-hmm.
ape,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think this is where the single most important thing about PFPs was that it was a statement to the world that I do not care who you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your background is. But if you're here with me, and if we are only going to talk about a certain thing, I will judge you based on the quality of your work, the quality of what you're speaking about, and your understanding or your depth of knowledge based on a certain thing. So in a way, crypto is very meritocracy. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a meritocracy on the highest level because no one really cares about your background or where you come from. But rather the question is, can you build?
Mm-hmm.
Can you make something better for a set of users which wasn't there before? Can you
Mm-hmm.
change or can you see the perception of technology in a much more different way than like traditional finance or traditional people can? Like another example I'd like to bring here is that you see 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds doing much better in solidity or Rust development in comparison to people who are older. Is that
Correct. Correct.
the reason is that these 16, 17, and 18-year-olds think natively in a Web3 way. So you don't have to unlearn a lot of things. You basically this is your default way of thinking, right? Like think about it that a 17-year-old understands that if he's using the blockchain, there's trust involved. I can basically put
True,
a
true,
contract out there. There's another person who can look at the contract and say, dude, this is where you've made mistakes. And then I can go back, change it, bring it back again. And it's very transparent. And
correct, correct, correct,
this
correct.
is the space where uh, like that belief where you can have that sort of transparency and quality only matters in the space. And uh, yeah, that was it. And that was my conviction that these kind of philosophies should be taken forward and be given like how do you call that, encouragement, and this would
Mm-hmm.
lead to empowerment of the individual of sorts. And when your individual becomes much more empowered, he basically has the confidence and the resources and the guts to basically ask other people to be transparent, confident, empower them. And then you're basically it's a bottom up approach, right?
Okay.
Each
Okay.
individual is empowered. Your basically your city or your tier city will become empowered as a sort, and then it moves up and the nation also becomes empowered as a whole. So
Mm-hmm.
this is my thesis that people around the world, when they're using such technologies where they understand rights, where
Mm-hmm.
they understand my own duties, they understand interactions, they understand technology of sorts, would basically want other people to come on board and use this on a much more trusted manner so that human interactions can be much more pleasant and the world can be a much better place.
Correct, correct, correct. I think, basically, I always keep thinking about this, saying the Web3 space, I'd say, it just made the world more flatter, man. Yesterday also when I spoke to Dheeraj, he was telling me the same. Like, anyone in the world has the same amount of opportunity right now if you're on the Web3 space, right? It's just become more flatter. Like anyone,
Yes.
maybe in the Bay Area or in the developing nation, has the same
Mhm.
access to opportunities. And
Yes. Yes.
here my question comes, right? So India, let's take an example of India, right? So India, there
Mhm.
are so many engineers, such great talent pool. But now what's happening
Mm-hmm.
is that they're being hired by the Western countries, right?
Yeah.
And they're earning in ETH, and they're earning in ETH.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Indians do
Mm-hmm.
not need an H-1B visa to go and work for
Mm-hmm.
a California-based company.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so how do you
Yeah.
think it's going to affect the entire Indian ecosystem? Like, will Indian startups, Indian, like let's say Indian community, Indian Web3 community, will they'll have lack of talent, right? There's a saturation point for that. So they're
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
there, and I mean, yeah, there is a lot of capital coming in. There's a lot of global capital coming in, but what about the
Mm-hmm.
startups? Just wanted to know your
See,
perspective on that as well.
Indian startups, I would like to tell you is that there is no dearth of talent in India at all. Like
Mhm.
I've been interacting with a lot of people from the Web3
Okay,
space after I joined Sino Global. Like when you speak to builders, right? Builders are very, very enthusiastic. They want to build. All they care about is building. Do I code it like this? Do I code it like that? How can I make my system more efficient? All those things, right? This is what I see with respect to India of sorts. I just want to bring in another aspect here so that the narrative is complete. Think
okay,
about Matic in 2017 when Matic the idea was formed and when they
correct,
were
correct, correct.
coming to build the entire ecosystem of sorts. Uh, right now, Matic, I think, also brings in not only people from India, but we are all Matic also employs people from across the globe. Think
Correct.
about that, like a global Indian project, which has actually taken India on a massive scale with respect to Web3.
And $14
That
billion dollars
that
in circulation, and
$14
like
billion market cap.
fully diluted, yes. And we don't talk
Yes,
about it
yes.
as a nation.
I think eventually we will, but like I'd like to mention one thing here is that in 2021 there was a report which was published by the Department of like Information Technology, and in that report basically they said that by 2022 there will be uh, one project or one company which will be worth more than $10 billion with respect to in the Indian Web3 space. It was surprising to see that Matic had actually achieved that about 6 months ahead of what they had predicted.
Wow.
So it was really like a vote of confidence that India has the confidence, India has the technology. It's all that we need is direction.
So you're bullish
Like
on the
we
nation.
need to definitely, like 100%. Like I believe that I've spoken to developers who are as young as 16-year-olds, and the way they think about projects, the way they think about finance, the way they want to do good, that favor with respect to we used to have in our youth that we want to better our nation, we want to make people's life easier. Now they have an opportunity and a platform in which they can use and make sure it's not only India which is getting better, but also the rest of the world.
Mhm.
Simple example: a transaction on Ethereum would cost you about like a basic transaction about $20 to $30 or $50. That same transaction on Matic basically costs you about what, 25 cents, less
Correct.
than that, 2 cents.
Correct.
The same thing on Solana. There are a lot of people building on Solana as well right now. Indian people building on Solana with amazing projects. Like I can talk to you about like Indian founders, people of Indian origin who are building almost in every single project in Web3. You would at least 60% of the people in those projects. What I mean to say is that if there are 100 projects out of in 60 of those projects, there'll be at least one Indian team member of sorts,
Wow.
right?
Wow. Wow.
Because you either need a developer, you either need a person who's doing marketing, you either need a person who's good with graphics and art. Because
Mhm.
India is a treasure trove of art and culture as a whole. We have so
Correct.
much
Correct. Correct.
different
Correct.
types
Correct.
of art out there, and there are so many different artists who basically did not have an output or an avenue in which they could actually like monetize or they could get exposure to it. What I think blockchain, cryptocurrency, and everything does is it puts everyone on the same platform, and it tells the person or the user who's basically wants to purchase a certain thing or wants to interact with a certain thing that you are the one who's going to choose which service you want and choose the one which is best. So
Correct.
this
Correct.
revolutionizes the way technology companies
But I have another, this is, I keep thinking about this as well, because see, right now, as a 19-year-old, I don't have a lot of clout.
Mhm.
I do not have
Uh-huh.
clout at all, right? And I say you've been truly generous to just hop onto a podcast with me and talk to me, right? That is special for me, right? That is special for me.
Mhm.
But how do I
Mhm.
build things without a cloud? And I've also listened to Kunal saying this, that it you have to be it has to be offline. Everything has to be offline, because when it's not offline,
Mhm.
the osmosis of knowledge transfer doesn't happen. And the young people like me, like teens in the early 20s, it'll be hard for them, in the next decade, because
Mhm.
they're not able to have overhear conversations happening in the office and things like that. But I have a different perspective, right? I'm having it on Zoom, and it's perfect for me.
Mhm.
It's working perfectly for me.
Mhm.
All I need is a laptop, and I was thinking about that. So how does cloud affect this part of the nation in the space?
Mhm.
So what's your advice for everybody and me as well? What do you think?
I think, yeah, I think, clout is not the actual way to go here, but rather, do you have a product or an idea which you actually believe in? And if you believe in it, speak about it to about 100 people from the space, right? Never feel there is a job which is inferior to you, because, like, I have done jobs with respect to community management to help out projects. Like, I've done the bare minimum as well. Like, I have basically like connected people with respect to artists to get jobs done. Like, I've done, like, there is no high or low. What happens is your entry point with respect to crypto, and I think that is where you need to gain confidence. Never underestimate yourself with respect to the space. Always be ready to learn.
Okay.
That is one thing which is ever which is going to be the right thing to do, is learn as a whole, because this space evolves as such. Cloud would actually accrue to you when you're doing good. That
Mhm.
is what I would say. You don't need cloud, to be honest, because
Mhm.
I can give you examples of so many youngsters, like as young as 19 to 20, who have become community managers for like we friends. Kashvi is one who's like a community manager for we friends, and she was also for World of Women as well. And she progressed because she had the confidence in herself and the belief that whenever she's going to do something wrong, she's going to learn from it and do it in the much better way tomorrow. And I think that is the spirit someone needs to have, that
Mhm.
stop being afraid of failure, right?
Okay.
Everyone is going to fail in something or the other. Like, I have failed in a lot of things to reach here. And I don't think that, failure, that Indian mindset or that young mindset that I shouldn't fail,
Mhm.
is a good thing. But when you fail, you need to literally accept that and see what went wrong, so that
Mhm.
you don't repeat the same mistake in the near future as well. So I really think, that is what I would say to all the youngsters, that build with respect to technology, understand what is missing in the space, because as much knowledge you gain in the
Correct,
space,
correct,
you
correct.
would know what to build. And when you know what to build, you know how to put it across or convey it to other people as well. And when you do that, your product gains utility and recognition of sorts. So don't go behind cloud, go behind quality of products.
Got it, got it. So what you're basically trying to say is build, right? Just drop everything
Yes.
and build. So once you
Yes.
start building, that's when you start creating value in some form of the other,
Yes.
and that's when people
Yes.
come to you. Wow,
Yes.
this is just a change of mindset for me as well, because
Yes.
right, because because like you said, right, Web3 is native to us. Like Web3 for
Mhm.
Gen Z is native. You think in Web3, right? Because there was also this
Yeah.
book called Your Grunge of Giants by Buckminster Fuller. So grunge, is an
Mhm.
abbreviation for gross universal heist. So that's
Mhm.
it's a heist happening. Just the 1%, right? Just the 1%
Mhm.
having everything, and the barrier for entry has been so much, right? And now the barrier for entry was too high for us, and to get in was a difficult part. And I see that getting in now is not a difficult part. It's just that you start building. And I also
Yeah.
shouldn't be going by the number of followers and go with the number of
Yeah.
substance, right?
don't never go behind that. I think, when you start putting out quality content and data analytics, and like when you're putting out things which people actually understand by breaking things down, it's going to take off. I think that's what it's all about. It's all about quality. Just to give you another example, right, with respect to age, have you heard of Rari Capital?
Rally Capital? No, no, actually, I haven't.
Rari Capital, like recently, it's a project which is coming in to make an algorithmic stable coin.
Okay.
The
Okay.
youngest member of their team is about 16 years old.
Wow.
The oldest member of their team is 23.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy, crazy.
So, like, I'm telling you, right? Like, so there are people who understand quality of sorts, who understand how to basically build, who have confidence in themselves because there's someone to guide them of sorts, because they speak to a lot of people, because they understand that this part I do not understand. So where do I get this knowledge? Where do I get this filler from? And they basically dive, speak to people a lot of times and understand what is missing, and then they build the whole product. They also realize that a product, when you're building it, it's not in its final form. There's always an evolution of a product, right? Like,
Correct. Correct.
biggest example I can give you, which everyone would know, is Uniswap. When in 2018, when Uniswap came out, a lot of people like said, man, this is not going to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
not going to work. But then Uniswap started getting better because people started contributing to it.
Mm-hmm.
V1 came, V2 came, now V3 is there, which is much more, it's 60% more efficient. The same thing was done with respect to Sushi Swap as well. There's so many different projects which are coming in, which are working on efficiencies, and the developer age is getting lower and lower, and the quality is getting higher and higher. So
Wow.
it's
Wow.
truly revolutionary and
Correct. Correct.
heartwarming to
Correct.
see
Correct. Correct.
young people build. Amazing.
Correct, correct. I'd say, I think I've seen on Tanmay's channel, I've seen, I think we had like a 13, 14-year-old Gajesh Nayak who's building on
Yeah,
Solana. I think that is also great, right? It's not just that one person is, it's a message. It's a message to the
yeah,
entire community, and not just in India, in the
yeah,
entire world, that what you said
yeah.
is so great, man. The quality is getting higher, and and the age is getting lower. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
like think about that from, I'll give you another example, right? There's a NFT project called Crypto Whales, if I remember it correctly. The entire project was coded by a 12-year-old who made $237,000 in a period of 12 hours.
Crazy.
12-year-old. Like,
Correct.
I've spoken to Gajesh, respect to that guy. Like, he's young but he understands coding. He's built smart contracts on Avalanche, Solana, Matic.
Correct.
Like, skill, man. 14-year-old.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
going to school.
Yeah.
He's worried about, like, is he going to, like, what subject or what questions are going to come in his boards or something. I was
Correct.
like, dude, stop worrying about it.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah, he
you'll
wrote
clear
that
that.
as well. Correct. Correct.
Yeah, I was like, man,
Good,
why are
good.
you worried about it, right? You don't need to be anymore. When you have competence which you're gaining in one aspect of your life,
Mhm.
I think that that belief should be carried on as well.
Mhm.
I'm not denying that you need to educate yourself. You definitely need to, because if you have to give proper value to whatever you're getting competent at, also need to know how other things work as well. When I mean other things, I mean the real world,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I think it's all going together. If you've seen Tare Zameen Par, there's one line which Amir Khan basically talks about when the small kid basically has an issue with respect to studies, and he's very good at art. And the I think the principal basically asked Amir Khan at that point of time that he's not doing good in so many different subjects, right? So Amir Khan's answer is, sir, उस 5 सब्जेक्ट में तो उसको सिर्फ पास होना है सर, बस. So that basically means to say that you don't need to have a complete and 100% understanding of everything, but you can follow what you're good at. But a general understanding of how things work is necessary for everyone to live.
Okay. 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 Correct. 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 Because yes, yes. I think what you're saying is you have to it's like a T model, right? You should be having a depth of knowledge and also breadth of knowledge,
Yes.
and that's when
Yes. Very true.
you'll be good at the skill, whatever you're doing, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. So true with that.
so I don't want to take a lot of your time, but a few more questions, I'd say. So so like we spoke about Solana and Ethereum. So what do you think is the future? Right? Is the future?
Oh, with respect to the future of things, like I have a very, I look at things a little more differently. I
Okay.
believe that, to be honest, that Ethereum to a large extent will be the settlement layer, uh, which is going to be used as such. Like
Correct.
Solana and each cryptocurrency will have its own particular niche, which it's doing very good at. Like I can give you like a certain different example is that Ethereum as an asset would be much more widely accepted and would
Mhm.
become a settlement layer as the cost of the transaction goes up. And
Mhm.
basically, all the L2s will settle their transactions on the main chain Ethereum,
Mhm.
and that is the use of Ethereum as such. Solana as a whole would be the financial blockchain of the world, where on which there will be uh, like products which are there on the traditional Web2 space, but
Mhm.
also a mixed hybrid of products which are coming in to bring in resource efficient efficiency of sorts. Solana lets you do that by because of Rust. It lets you program it in a very different way. It's very friendly with respect to Web2 development. So onboarding people from Web2 to Web3, I think Rust would play a major role there.
Mhm.
With respect to gaming, NFTs, and metaverse, the race is still open there.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think Matic, Avalanche, and a couple of other L2s are basically going to um, uh, fight it out there with respect to that. And I believe Matic will be one of the most essential projects out there because the sheer amount of technology they're bringing out with respect to ZK rollups
GitHub.
and layer twos
Yes.
becoming much more efficient. Having also an enterprise layer with respect to blockchain. It's going to be a Swiss Army knife in a way, where in case you need anything with respect to a layer two, even
Mhm.
Polygon Edge, right? It's going to move towards like sidechain as a service. And I think these are all revolutionary technologies which are going to have their own particular, and people stop having tribal behavior with respect whether is it Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or Matic or Avalanche. Rather than that, look at it from the perspective of what is this technology, what can this technology be better used for, and how can we improve this technology to use for something which you still cannot use it on. Uh, I see a multi-chain future.
Mhm.
Cross chain, I'm not still so convinced yet because I still have this doubts with respect to bridges.
Mhm.
I still believe in what Vitalik said with respect to the end game thesis, right?
Mhm.
That bridges are not yet secure. But I see projects like projects called Celestia, which is built on Cosmos and
Okay.
Tendermint. They are coming up with a way where they're providing a data layer for settlement of sorts, and that is going to change the way things are going to go ahead. I see with respect to Cosmos, I'm very bullish on the Cosmos ecosystem because
Mhm.
the technology is sheer brilliance, right? When you
Mhm.
can move assets between two chains of sort natively, rather than you moving it in a way where you're locking up asset on one end and like minting it on the other end. You can moving assets natively is going to change the way interactions and values basically exchange. So a multi-chain future is what I totally believe in in a much more larger standpoint.
Correct. 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 I think yeah, that is also true because we've been seeing, right? It's so difficult to just move my ETH to Solana, and the bridges aren't that efficient. The
Mhm.
bridges aren't that great. It's like a different, completely
Mhm.
different world in
Mhm.
just one universe. That's how it has become. But I think
Mhm.
the evolution will definitely show us what it has. And last, if we say two questions I have, and I do not want to wrap it up so fast, but It's that, I do respect your time as well. But so first one, if you talk about the P2E space and also what Harsha is doing in the entire ecosystem, what is it, right? Because I see, I showed it to a friend of mine, right? So Born to Die is doing so and so, and that's how it is. And he was like, "Arey, ye to PUBG ka copy hai. Ye to PUBG ka copy hai, right?" So, and it was so hard for me to explain it to him. So, what is your perspective? Could you put it in layman terms? Because
Mhm.
I know it's powerful, but could you tell us that?
Yeah, I think play basically is way in skill can be monetized, like a reward with respect to skill. Like what I mean that is, um, like until now, until Web3 had come about, there was no efficient way to monetize skill on a repeated basis. Like what I mean by that is, like, let's think about it from a poker player's perspective, right?
Mhm.
Until and unless he goes and visits tournaments and he wins prizes, he's not able to monetize that skill
Mhm.
unless and until he has backdoor games going on. But on a gaming level, what happens is that when you're getting better at a game, you're getting rewarded for getting better at it as your skill is going high. Your reward is not for you playing, but rather the reward is that you're acquiring skill and getting better in a much more larger economy as such. That is play to earn, where
Correct, correct.
you're rewarded for skilling.
Yes.
Like let's I'll give you another example for from Axia sorts, right? Now when you started off with Axis, it started off in a place where you were just being incentivized to play the game. But
Mhm.
if you're seeing how Axis is developing and evolving as such, it's
Mhm.
basically bringing players and forcing players to be competitive enough to gain money, right?
Okay.
Players until
Okay.
now could not monetize these skills and they had
Correct,
to
correct,
only
correct,
go
correct.
to like tournaments to win. But
Yes.
now what happens is that on a day-to-day basis, they can play against other players who are of similar skill and beat them and can earn a revenue of sorts.
Mhm.
Gaming is becoming a career option right now.
Mhm.
And Web3 will make it much more viable for people to do that on a much more global level, is what I believe.
Wow, wow. I'd say, the last point that you say says, what you just said was important. It's like the next 60% of the jobs aren't even invented yet, right? In the next 10 years, the 60% of
It's
the
not.
jobs aren't even here, right? They're gonna keep evolving and come
It's
because,
not.
right?
I just recently found out, okay, that I think 1 month ago, I found out there's a new job where you basically have people who are like, farming whitelists and they get paid, I think, per whitelist around $500 a month. Think
Mhm.
about that. The only thing they're doing is having using Discord, Telegram, Twitter, farming whitelists, giving it to people who want to mint it and they're earning a living. This
Mhm.
is also a skill, right?
Correct.
Like how to find projects, how to these are the way new jobs are coming in, and these are the way new jobs will evolve as such because you need people to fill the gap in certain ways. And a lot of jobs are still not like known to a large extent to a lot of people. I think just like what 2% of the entire population uses or understand, not even understands, knows about crypto.
Correct.
So
Correct. Correct.
going forward, I think there are going to be a lot of new jobs which are coming in, bringing in capital efficiency. And I think work as a whole, the narrative of what work
Mhm.
is going to change because the way work is being looked from the Web3 perspective is very different than the way it used to work in the Web2 space, right? In Web2 spaces, you had confined silos in which you need to get competent at. But with respect to Web3, you learn multiple different subjects as well. For example, if you're looking at to help out a project, you need to understand how the entire crypto market works. You
Mhm.
then need to look at how marketing works. You need to understand how tokenomics is
Economics.
designed because you need an efficient tokenomic model to make sure that a project takes off. You
Correct.
also need to understand how fast the development of a particular project happens because it's very different for a DeFi. It's very different for NFTs. It's very different for gaming as sorts,
Mhm.
and how different tokenomics model need to come in. I think crypto and Web3 and blockchain is basically a sandbox where all the theories and all the knowledge which has existed till now can be tried and tested to see which sticks.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's what I think about it.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So it's like throwing a bunch of paper balls covered in glue and throwing it on the roof and seeing what sticks.
I think it
Experimentation.
would be that would be like a wrong way to put it, but I'd rather think about it from the perspective of the question anyone asks is why not? Like we all ask why, right? Basically, Web3 asks you why not?
Mhm.
Why not try this? Why not try this innovative method and see if
Mhm.
the tokenomics works? Why not see an
Correct.
economic
Correct.
model to see if this works or not?
Mhm.
I'm not disagreeing that this is going to lead to loss of value to a lot of investors and the people who are like getting in. But I think it is necessary to ensure that innovation and creativity keeps getting fueled as such. Because without people and money coming in and having belief on a particular project, it is never going to take off.
Correct. 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 And so you're saying we're all early, right? If you're in the space right
Yeah,
now,
we're all early.
we're all early.
Yeah, we're all early. Yeah, we're all early.
And I've also seen.
Let's think about this. Like, I think even though we are launching a lot of different projects and games are coming out, I think 99% of the projects which are going to exist and which is going to be something necessary to use, something which everyone would be using right now, still does not exist. Just as Gary says, right? Uh, there's going to be a lot of different new services which are going to come in, and it's just going to change the way humans interact with value and with each other.
Mhm. Correct, correct. Because my job right now is a joke for my parents, right? If I say I'm a community manager for a Discord group called Enchanted Valley, that NFTs and they're creating a magical world. It's simply like, मतलब तू admin है WhatsApp group
करके आ
का
रहा
admin
है.
है बस, right?
हाँ.
That's
But I think that is where you need to basically tell your parents that WhatsApp group में admin बनने के लिए पैसे नहीं मिलेगा, but इधर
correct.
moderator बनने के लिए मुझे पैसे मिलता है. So
Correct.
I think this is where the narrative needs to change, right?
Correct. Correct.
Our parents, like I'm telling you, even right now, if I tell my parents that I'm working in the Web3 space, they still do not get it. Like
Correct.
you
Correct. Correct.
need to break it down for them, right?
True.
So I explain it to that. Think about like I'm working in investment banking, but
Yes.
with respect to the entire globe, where we pick out beautiful companies which are coming out, which are building like dope stuff, like amazing
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm also learning on a constant basis that like this can happen, this can happen, this can happen. So like I feel when I take calls on a regular basis for Sino, I feel like a young kid who's being taken into a candy store to see so many different candies, and I'm like, oh man, there's so possibilities is
Wow.
so
Wow.
limitless. And I always talk to about like developers who are young, who say that who come and say that भैया ये project जो नहीं हो रहा है हमारे से ये थोड़ा बहुत I tell them that देखो दिक्कत होती है ठीक है आगे तुम जाते हो समझते हो तो it would lead you, it would lead the project, and it would lead people around you to a much different level. It's that your intentions are clearly being portrayed on the blockchain. So make sure that the quality of your intentions is being displayed.
Correct, 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 correct. I think this has been a beautiful conversation, Vish, and you saying that there is so much of opportunity. All you need to do is tap in and understand where it
Yes.
is, right?
Yeah.
So one personal advice, right?
Yeah.
One personal advice. So let's say you're in my shoes, right? You're in my shoes right now. You're 19, and what would you do differently, right? Now you're in the space. What would you do differently? Like connecting with people on Twitter, and what is it? How do I learn? How do I grow? Right? How do I
I
understand
think
more?
I think I think I would constantly keep upgrading myself with respect to new and relevant technology.
Mhm.
That's one thing. The second thing is like reach out to people, have a conversation with them. Don't ask them to teach you anything, but rather ask them the doubts which have arisen because of you teaching yourself. Never expect someone else to give you spoon feed you as sorts with respect to information or data, but
Mhm.
rather try to uh, understand. And when you have points where you're stuck at, reach out to people and ask them with respect to why and or how does this basically work. The third thing I would say is that never feel inferior with respect to any job you're doing, because everything actually adds up at a point of time, and it would be fruitful as a whole. The fourth thing is don't be disheartened when you fail. You are supposed to fail repeatedly, because quality is always churned out. It does not appear. Quality is
Say that again,
churned
please say that
out
again, please.
in fire as salt.
Okay, okay.
Quality is always churned out. In the sense, what I mean that is that, let's say you have to purify gold, right? You have to remove the impurities. You need to heat it up to a level where impurities are on the top layer and you can skim it off, right? This is basically when you're churning yourself, when you're constantly bombarding yourself with information. The last thing, but I wouldn't consider this in any order. The last is that always ensure that you're humble, always be open to learn, and make sure that your intentions are very clearly portrayed, and your intentions and whatever you think is clearly being portrayed to the people you work with. And the last, I'm sorry, but like, all I would say is just have fun, man, being honest with you,
For sure, for
because
sure.
there's a space where you can literally have fun and still make money and
Correct.
still actually gain clout and still actually reach somewhere.
Wow. I'd say the entire Web3 space is a P2E, right? The entire space is a
In a
P2E.
way, definitely. You're basically playing with every protocol out there to basically earn. Like I'm telling you, just give me an example. ENS, when I first got my .eth address, I never expected the airdrop. Right? I wanted to
Correct.
know what it is, and I was
Correct, correct,
experimental
correct,
enough
correct.
to just try it out. So try out new things. Don't be afraid to try it out. And if you don't like it, that's a different choice. Like you might not like it, you might not approve of it, you might hate the project. Fine, but try it. Try to understand why it works. Try to understand why it does not work. That's all I would say.
True, true, true. I think, this has been great, man. This has genuinely been great. Got a lot of value from this. And like I said, right, it's just an excuse to be having a conversation with you. And wow, so much to learn. I think this is just a starting point, you're saying. This is just a starting point.
Yeah,
Just learn, man.
yeah.
Just learn, grow,
We're
and
just getting started.
for sure. I think Himanshu was also telling me just connect with people, and you're going to find some great minds, in our nation itself. And I think that is true. And I'm also glad that you're bullish on our nation, and you also showed us what are the key points that we could, keep in our mind to change the direction if we want the 2050 superpower nation, right? There's so much of talent, so much of talent pool doing crazy stuff. And I'll say that line
Mhm.
again, the quality is getting higher and higher and the age is getting lower and lower. That sentence itself, which I'd say
Lower.
magical, beautiful, shows the direction of our nation, right? If you want that to happen, this is what it is, right? Such an amazing conversation, man. And thank you so much,
Yeah,
Anna.
definitely.
Conversation చేసినందుకు నాతో థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. ఓకే, లాస్ట్ కూడా చెప్పాలంటే Web3 ఇండియా తగ్గేదేలే.
Nice, nice. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I'll stay connected with you as well. And do give me a follow back.
Definitely.
Yeah. And yeah.
Done. Cheers, Tandra.
Thank you so much.
I just need to jump off because I have another call right now.
For sure.
And it was amazing speaking to you.
Yeah, you too.
And good going, bro. Take care.
Thank you.
Like I'll follow you back. Just ping me on Twitter.
Sure,
follow you back right away.
Bye, Anna. Bye.
Take care.
Yeah, bye.